Cool. So Emma, thank you for joining us today. You're over from NZ in our Australian HQ, and for those who don't know, Emma looks after the New Zealand franchise sales, so onboarding franchisees, answering all the questions that the franchisees have about joining the Jim's family. So today we're going to talk about Jim's Mowing in particular, and just as a bit of a background for Jim's Mowing in NZ, it's a really well-known brand. I went over there and did some filming over there, and when people saw the logo, everyone knew Jim's Mowing. So it's a really strong brand in NZ. I think we've got more than 300 franchisees there as well, and looking to grow as well. A lot of great opportunities. So what we're going to do today, Emma, is we're going to go through the information pack, and I'm just going to ask you a whole bunch of questions that I'm sure you get from prospects all the time, and you can answer them all with the information. So let's start.
Okay, great.
So when someone inquires about being a franchisee in Jim's Mowing, Emma, talk them through the process, and let's just guide them through it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So first off, I'll get through their inquiry, give them a call, and we have a chat. It usually takes about 15 minutes, and we just sort of go over things like all the information pack information and the stages of, what it looks like for them to sort of figure out if this is the right decision for them. So basically I go over with them in the phone call the basic information, and then after that I send them out an email information pack, and we can cover off some of that soon. Then, from the information that they get, then how I can support them is I then can organise a free observation day. So that's a day where they go out with one of our existing franchisees for about 5 hours. They get to go along to all the different job sites and have that opportunity to talk to a franchisee that's currently doing it. So it's a fantastic way for them to figure out firsthand if this is for them or not. Ask questions like, how do they find the support of the gyms group? How much work do they have? How do they build their business, grow their business? All those sort of questions. It's a really valuable stage, and people usually figure out from that day if it's for them or if it's not. And, if it is for them, then we invite them along to our Auckland induction training session. And so they usually run about every 6 weeks at the moment. And so it's 3 days. So the first 2 days are our generic training. It's great because they get to meet everyone that's joining the gyms group across the whole country and all the different divisions. We've got our team from Australia fly over to present. We have bookkeepers there, and it's just a great way to be able to meet everyone on the same journey, but also learn how to build your business, grow your business, know how to be successful with using your franchise, having a franchise. And then one of the days for mowing, so our third day is mowing specific, so it's just all about mowing. So it's a fantastic day, that they're going to learn everything and leave after those 3 days feeling really confident about how to run a business and how to be successful. And then after that, we give them 2 days road training, so send them out with an existing franchisee again, just teach them how to do hedges, edges, anything they're not feeling confident with. So, after those 2 training sessions, they're going to feel very confident and ready to go. From there, then I help out, and our New Zealand support team do as well with onboarding their business. So we get things like their sign writing organised, help them out with the tools that they may need, business cards, uniforms, the whole lot. So that's sort of the stage in the process of how it works, and a bit of an overview. And so that's sort of the general conversation that we have that first initial time. And then after the observation day, I give them a call, just see how things have been, if they've got any more questions, because usually it does trigger a whole new variety of questions. And then, I help them through that process. And then once they're all signed up, then, they get handed over to their franchisor, and their franchisor is going to be giving them a call every week, checking in with them, seeing how things are going. If they need any help or support, there's always someone there to help them with that.
Now, real quickly, a franchisor, for people that don't know, it's like that's your main go-to person, that's your support person. So if you've got a question about anything, your franchisor, most of the time it's been a former franchisee, they will answer anything you need to know. So that's your full-time business coach almost in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, and I think that's probably the important part is most of the franchisors have been there and done it as well. So they know what it's like, real life examples as well. So it's not just someone else from the outside of sort of suggesting how to do it. They've been there, done it. They've been successful themselves. They've followed the process. And so then, they're there to just train and pass it on and teach the new franchisees. Yeah,
that's a great point. And also the franchisors have a lot of access to a lot of different businesses in the region. So they know a little bit about the whole different bunch of things. It's not just one business they know about maybe 60 or 70 other businesses as well. So you can leverage off that knowledge off them as well. But let's go through the information pack. So on the screen now, we're going to have the information pack. So let's run through what you got there. So what's on the first slide?
Yeah, cool. So basically at the beginning is just a little bit more, the first few pages is just a bit of general information about the Jim's Mowing group. And then from there, we're going to get down to the pages about the pricing. So this is something I just like to go through with because, just make sure it's really clear. So you're going to see there that to getting started for a new startup territory, so a new startup, so we've got the territory price, which is $8,000. So a territory is an area that you're going to have exclusive rights to for your business. And you get that for up to 20 years. And then after that 20 years, if you want to re-sign, it's just a matter of, there's no extra costs. It's just signing a new set of documents. So that's your exclusive area. But you can also work outside of your area as well. Then if we scroll down, we've got additional costs. So we're going to be helping out with your stationery. So when you come on board, we'll set you up with flyers, business cards and magnets. And then we've got your vehicle and trailer signage. So there's a bit of a price range there from $250 up to $2,500. So the reason there's a price variation there is just because it depends on the size of the vehicle and if we're sign rating a van or if we're sign rating a trailer. So whatever you don't spend, you get that back. So we are only charging for the costs. We're not keeping anything else extra there. We organise your uniform package, so you're going to get all of your gear. And then in the first year, we've also got the insurance to cover you, so your $5 million public liability. And we've got our training costs. So you'll see here, so this is what I was mentioning about the Auckland induction training sessions. So we've got the 2 days business training and 1 day division specific training. So that cost there is $2,154. And then on top of that, afterwards, you've got your 2 days road training, which is $500. Then you've got some one-off fees, so your document fees, $365, and your initial warranty fund fee. So all of those costs there, they add up to be about $16,000. So that's what you're looking at. On top of that, though, Joel, what they do, the franchisees do need to organise is their tools and equipment. So one cool thing if you think about the gyms group is, we send you a suggested list of what we think that you're going to need. But, everyone's got a different brand on a different preference on brand or price or quality. Some people want brand new, some people are fine with second hand. So we sort of just give you, an outline of what you need to purchase, but you're welcome to buy that from wherever you'd like. Alternatively, we do have great package deals through Still, which is extremely strong brand when it comes to the mowing. So that's on top of the $16,000, and then the other cost to factor in and think about is just your vehicle.
Yep.
So in New Zealand, we either can go with a ute, and if you have a ute, then you need to have a large caged trailer, and then we would sign write the trailer up. Alternatively, you can go with a van, but it has to be a large commercial van, so something like a Toyota Hiace or a Mazda Bongo. So, and then if you have the van, then you don't require the trailer initially. A lot of guys will then get the trailer later on, but that's something that you can pay for later. So when we look at the startup costs, it's about $16,000 for the business. Then on top of that, your equipment. So someone that didn't have any gear, you're probably looking at about $5,000 to start off there. And then on top of that, whichever vehicle variation you go for. So your sign writing is included in that $16,000, so that's not on top of. So that's sort of what you're looking at for the upfront price. We can do at the moment partial vendor finance. So $6,000 worth of the territory costs we can put on vendor finance for 12 months interest free. So that's another great option to be able to help you out. Or if you need full finance, then we can refer you to businesses that we have worked well with. Another part of the cost to factor in and think about is our monthly fee structure. So you're going to see in the information pack, there's a variation of different fees. So you've got your base fee, advertising fee, lead fee, warranty fee, etc. They all add up to be about $1,050 a month. But if you're compliant, which means you use the Jim's Jobs app, you come along to meetings and you've got your vehicle sign written, then you do get a discount of about $100 a month. So it does bring it down. One thing, Joel, that is really important when I'm talking to franchisees is about the lead fee. So basically, you've got your monthly base fees, which are always going to stay the same, whether it's just one person on their own or if they've got 10 staff members working for them. The only thing that's going to change every month is the lead fees. So basically, it's $12.45 for one lead. So anytime someone contacts the call centre and then we send that job onto the franchisee, then they pay a one-off lead fee of $12.45. So that's really important to know because we may send someone a job and it might end up being a weekly mow. And, you're only paying that lead fee one time only. You don't pay it every single session. Same with it's a big gardening job and it's a $3,000 gardening job. It's only the lead fee. Yep. So I think you cover this off a lot as well, is that we don't charge a percentage of your income, which is just probably the most important part out of all of this. It's just your base fees and then your lead fees, paying $12.45 per lead. And, as time goes on, you probably don't need to accept as many new leads because your business is built up really well. So at the beginning stages, that lead fee is going to be higher because you're going to want to take as many leads as you can.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of good information from Jim online with the lead fee and why he brought it in. And it was there because when you're paying a lead fee, you value the job. Like if you didn't pay a lead fee and you're busy or whatever, I won't call that person back. From a customer service point of view, it actually raised our service standards and also actually increased the leads because it was better customer service. So the lead fee's there because when you're paying a lead fee, you value the job and you can do more to win that job. We also do have a lead fee discount as well, which can take into account the people who might not just want to go ahead for price or for whatever reason. And I will point out to people as well that when people call for Jim's Mowing, either the website or online, they're a very good lead. They're generally not someone who's going to be a tire kicker and chasing 4 or 5 different cheapest quotes. They want a Jim's Mowing person, so they generally convert higher as well. And the reason why I know is because we do a lot of interviews with former independent mower guys who try being an independent. They spend all their money on Google Ads and get nowhere, and they've got race to the bottom with the tire kickers, and they come to Jim's Mowing, and it's far easier as well. So, because the monthly franchise fee is another thing where you outlined what it's for, but even if you're doing an independent business, you have to do a marketing cost to generate leads, and you're paying a lot more than, let's say, $250 a week, whatever our fee is broken down, to generate good leads. And a lot of the time, they're not going to be good leads because you don't have a brand. So I think it's such a great deal. But I was going to say as well then, Emma, so you've run through the pricing there, which is great. So that's really fully transparent about the pricing information. What's on the next page you got there?
Yeah, so it's basically, that's about it. It's just some frequently asked questions.
So what are the common questions, and I should ask you this, what are you getting generally from most people?
Generally, the biggest part is about, the percentage of the, getting charged. And the other thing is just about how to build their business. And probably actually with mowing would be what happens in the winter months. So, obviously it's very seasonal, but, that can actually work to their advantage too. So, the great goal is to build up as many regular customers that you could have, because then you've got those regular customers, you already know their properties, you already know them as well. So then when it comes into the quieter months, you can directly contact them and be like, hey, I've noticed there's a pile of green waste in your yard, do you want me to take that away? Here's, some things. So you've already got, your customers. So some franchisees that I have spoken to can make a little bit more money through winter rather than summer, because in summer you've just got so many lawns to get through. So winter can actually be a really fantastic opportunity because it is a bit slower, that you can put time into the jobs that take longer because you've got that time there too.
It's a great point. And even though it's called Jim's Mowing, people should know you can do far more than that. And when you go to the property, people ask you to do a lot of things. Like could be like a soft washing, could be pressure washing, could be gutter cleaning, especially all these different things. You're like the property maintenance person, so it's not just Jim's Mowing. You get access to a customer, and they're going to ask you to do a whole bunch of other things as well. But let's go back to the fee outlay, because I think when you look at gyms compared to other franchises, the ROI you can make, you can pretty much pay off your franchise very, very quickly. Whereas I don't think with a lot of franchises, which are a lot more, let's say, higher outlay, like your quick service restaurants and stuff, might be 4 years before you can even pay back that initial purchase price. Whereas with a Jim's Mowing franchise, as you would know from what people learn, you can pay off that initial outlay very, very quickly.
Yeah, you definitely can. It's a massive advantage buying into a really well-established known group, but at a really low entry price point, really, when you consider that you're going to have your own business and the freedom and the flexibility. So
another thing that we probably should mention is John talked about the pay for work guarantee, because that's generally quite attractive to people when they're trying to decide to leave their corporate job and they need that security. So do you want to just outline what that is?
Yeah, cool. So that's a really, it is something that gets brought up a lot, and it's really good to know and understand it very carefully. So basically, if a franchisee's income falls below $2,500 a month,
a week, sorry, I think, is it?
Oh, sorry, a week, sorry, yes. Then they can go out and they can do some free services. And then, so every free service that they do, the gyms group will pay them $65 for doing that free service. So if 1 week they did one free service for a friend, family member, someone in the community, then where the gyms group is going to pay them $65. If they did 10 free services a week, we'll pay you $650. But I guess, so all the way up to $2,500. But I think, the more important part about that is the opportunity that brings. When you're doing a free service for someone, people don't expect anything for free these days anymore, so they're usually quite impressed that someone would do that. And then it's a great opportunity to be able to get onto their property, do a great job, provide a good service, build that relationship and rapport. And then, what generally comes out of that is that they may hire you down the track to do a garden cleanup or to be a regular lawnmower, or they might refer you to someone because, human nature shows that people don't like to receive something for free, so they like to do something for you. So it may just be a referral. So that's, I think, the most beneficial part of the paid for work guarantee is the opportunity that it can bring instead of cold calling or door knocking or trying to find work. It's just the opportunities that it can open up for the franchisees.
Yeah, it's a great explanation, and we're paying you to build your business, and it's designed to benefit you ultimately in the long term, because you've got to, as you said, it's better than cold calling and stuff when you're going to offering a free service, and then after that, you can then send them a quote for a regular mow or something like that and convert that into a customer. But we're actually literally going to pay you to build your business, which is a really unique part of the gym system. So another question I presume you get asked all the time will be, how much will I make? So how do you answer that one, or what would you sort of say to people around that topic?
Yeah, that's a really tricky one, I guess, because every franchisee is completely different, and it's really going to come down to the effort that's put in. And, the franchisees that follow the systems, do what they're sort of, taught in training and really make that effort, do a great job. The basic things like call back when they say they're going to call back, all those sort of things. Then those franchisees are going to build their business probably a lot faster. And so it is very hard to say, because also some franchisees, they may focus on lawn mowing, where some might want to do lawn mowing and gardening, or all the extra services. So everyone is completely different. So it's difficult to say with how much money that they can make, and it depends if they're on their own or if they're, we generally say, look, start up on your own before you hire staff as well. That's something that's really important, because you want to make sure you have enough business to keep yourself busy before you bring someone else on. But then, over as time goes on and you do have staff members, then the income potential is completely different to someone at the beginning. So it's a really hard one to say. I wish I could have the answer, but it's just so variable.
Yeah, it's a hard one, because everyone charges their own thing. We don't tell what you charge. You can charge what you do. But I'd say to anyone looking at gyms, look at the podcast. People on the podcast in mowing, especially in New Zealand or Australia, will say how much they make in terms of revenue. So you can work out from them. And obviously when you do the observation day, you can ask the person as well. That's probably the best thing. But I was going to say, you mentioned about putting on staff. So is there an opportunity for people who do the Gyms Mowing franchise to put on staff? Is there any extra fees or anything like that with that? Or
that's another really important part, and I think that makes us stand out from the other franchises out there as well. No, there's no extra fees. So basically it's your business, you're running your business. Whenever you're feeling that you're at the stage to have staff members, absolutely bring them on. Obviously you want to make sure that they're going to represent you well and the brand, but that's their choice when they want to do that. There's no extra fees or charges involved with that, so we love to see that. That's a great. Well, I've interviewed a few franchisees in NZ, and there's a few of them, 2 or 3 trailers or vans on the road, and they've got maybe a team of 6 or something like that. And the great thing about it is they pay the same fees as the person who's doing the sole trader. So I think, as you said, it's a great system in regards to that. We want you to actually grow and take up all those unserviced jobs, or make sure there is no unserviced jobs. So we want to keep the customer happy. But the other thing I was going to ask you as well is about the actual the training side of it. Because a lot of people might go from a corporate world or going, I do my own garden at home, but I don't know how I'd go doing this all the time. So maybe you want to talk about the training aspect in regards to the mowing and the gardening side of it. Yeah. So I guess over those 2 days of road training, they're going to learn a lot of things. But from what I've heard in the feedback from the trainers is definitely it's just practice. There is skill involved with it, but everyone can be taught how to do this. But as time goes on, you're going to get faster, and you're going to get clearer lines on the lawns, or that hedge is going to be straighter. So it's just like ongoing thing with practice. But I think that's another great thing is when you'll have your 2 days road training, but then when you come along to the franchise meetings, you're going to meet all the franchisees in your area as well. So if there's an area that you're not feeling that great on, then you can talk to an existing franchisee. There's always an expert within your region that's going to be able to help you out. And I think that's probably a great thing about the gyms group again, is that franchisees like to work together and help each other. So if, with the training side of it, there's always going to be things that, you're going to come across that you don't potentially know. But I guess just you've got the support there to be able to ask the people in your network group, hey, look, what's the best way to approach this rose bush or this particular type of special plant, So there's always that.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think, people who are looking at this, thinking about it, it's quite counterintuitive. People think, there's so many gyms mowing, they'd be all competitive and everyone's competing with each other. But as you know, it's the complete opposite, where people want to help you and they want to help you succeed, and people are just a phone call away. And a lot of the franchisees in the regions will have a lot of people they work with all the time and bring in on jobs. It's actually quite a team, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I've heard of some franchisees as well, like if you're not quite ready to have a full-time staff member, then one franchisee may have a contractor that they use a couple of days a week. So then, you know, just that connection again of being like, oh, I've got this really big gardening job. Obviously, you don't want to hire someone full-time yet, but, you know, just that power of knowing the right people to just, you know, get a contact for a contractor to come help you out for the day. You know, it's just all those little things that within the team together that can just make life a little bit easier. Or, you know, I've heard of other franchisees, you know, there may be one type of work that's not their favourite thing to do. So then, you know, they might send that work to another franchisee and they work together that way as well. So, yeah, it's really surprising. It's definitely, from what I've seen as well, it's not competitive at all. It really is like what they say with the whole Jim's family.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's quite counterintuitive because we see it a bit online where people say, I see Jim's mowing everywhere, it's too saturated or whatever, whereas we know that it's very the reverse. There's a lot of teamwork involved. I was going to say as well then, with the franchise offering, I'm presuming you get a lot of questions from the partner as well. A lot of times it might be a husband and wife team looking at doing it. So what's some of the questions that you get from the partner about the person being a franchisee?
Yeah, it's probably most of the things that we've actually covered off, Joel, is just, the basic questions of how it all works. I think that's probably why it's great that we're doing this video today, is especially for the partners, because, you know, usually I'll have the initial conversation with maybe the husband, but then the wife always wants to know the questions, you know, and then it's a lot of information to take on all at once. And so that's why I think, you know, this video really helps them out. And I think we've probably covered off the most common frequently asked questions, but there may be more things that you can think of.
Well, I'll put in one, because a lot of the time when, this from the interviews I do over here, when a lot of times it's a partner decision, and maybe the wife or the husband or who is getting involved in the business, and sometimes they get a bit hesitant going, I don't want to buy myself extra work. We'll be doing the books. Whereas I can tell you for a fact there's an app called Jim's Jobs, and it's very easy for whoever's doing the business to do the books themselves and to actually run it all via the app. So quite a big concern sometimes from the partner is like, I don't want to just be stuck at home, you know, after hours, maybe doing his paperwork or fixing up the paperwork for them. So don't worry about that. There is an app in place, Jim's Jobs, and obviously we have Jim's Online. So the person doing the business can do the business themselves.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it if you're a partner about I'm buying on myself extra job or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's some of the concern that I hear. But knowing that there's Jim's Jobs in place for it as well. But I think the other thing, what I think is a really good thing is when people look at buying a franchise, they're looking at multiple things. So we encourage them not just to look at us. But I think the ROI plus doing the observation day quite freely, whereas we want you to do that, is another really good thing. But the last thing we didn't talk about was the ability to do splits. So do you want to just talk about that? That is a potential if you don't want to build a business with a team, but you can actually do a thing called a split. So do you want to tell people what it actually is?
Yeah, so basically when you've sort of got your franchise up to a certain level and you've got a lot of work going on, and, you know, initially when you start off, you generally take work from a large area, and then as time goes on you sort of bring it a little bit closer. So, you know, you might have a really tight-knit customer base over here, but you want to focus on keeping that one over there. So you can actually sell those customers off, and so we can help you do that. So that then for new franchisees coming on, or a franchisee that's around that wants to, you know, extra customers, then you can sell them on, and then you can split part of the territory.
Yeah, and you got to keep most of that money, and that's the beauty of it as well. So if you've got customers, as you're saying, outlying here, you can package them up, and you can do that maybe a couple of times, maybe once a year or every couple of years, and, you know, it's a great bit of source of extra income that comes into you if you don't want to have to deal with having employees or subbies or anything like that. So you can do it a couple of ways. You can do the sole trader model where you do splits and you can make money that way, or you can put employees on and do extra work. But I think it's a really unique part where you can do that. We encourage you to do that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. There is actually something else that that came up to mind, and it's generally when I do take a lot of the initial calls, they'll say, does this come with customers?
Yes.
So that's a really big one. So to buy into the Jim's group with the mowing, so there's two ways to buy in. So one is if an existing franchisee is selling their business, so that business is going to be priced differently because it's going to involve clients, and that price is going to depend on how many clients they have and how much that job is worth. So that's something that we can talk about, you know, if that is an option. But generally speaking, most people start with a new startup business. And I think another part that makes Jim stands out compared to other brands out there is some people come to me, Joel, and they say, oh, look, I've spoken to this company and they're going to provide 15 customers for me. Something that's really important to know about that is that if another company is providing those customers, is someone else has gone out and quoted that work. So you might get that contract and you'll go and do that job and you'll see this is underquoted, or it's not the price where you want it to be. And that's, I guess, the main thing that's amazing about gyms is we don't set your prices.
Nope.
Franchisees set their prices. So you need to be very happy with that job that you're taking on and make sure it's where you see it sitting. And another part is quite often if customers are being provided, you can't then on-sell them. So with us, whenever with the gyms group, so if we're sending you a lead or any customer that the franchisee brings on, one day, obviously that's the goal, is to have a really good solid income, but one day you're going to sell that business. And the way that business has its value is depending on how many customers you've got. So when we're sending you the customers, you can on-sell those customers. When you're bringing your customers on, you can on-sell them. So that's probably, the main thing that sets us apart from the other franchises is that you can do that, because basically if you're buying your customers up front and you can't on-sell them, then it basically is like buying a job, not building a business. So it can seem appealing sometimes where you're like, oh, okay, well, we've already got existing customers. But if you do really want to build a successful business for the long term, it may seem slower because you don't have those initial customers at the beginning, but we teach you how to get those.
We pay you to help get them with the
we
pay for
do.
a guarantee,
Yeah, and I mean, with across Australia and New Zealand, is it 5,500 franchisees? So gyms definitely know what they're doing when we're teaching how to build businesses. So I think that's probably a really important part to understand the difference between, just different companies as well, and just to check that out.
Yeah, it's a great point. And so you can buy a new sale, which is a vacant territory, and you can build up that way, or you can buy an existing customer base, or you can buy a resale or a split. And people should also know that there is a 45-day period in that as well. So if customers do drop off in the 45 days, you don't have to pay for that client, which is a really good thing, because the outgoing franchisee or the person selling the customers, it's in their best interest that those customers stay with you as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You're not just buying dud customers or something like people think that. It's in the best interest for them to sell you customers that are going to stay with you as well. So I think it's an important thing. It's a great part of the gym system as well.
Yeah, and it protects both parties as well, and it makes you feel a little bit more confident, because of course everyone's got their reservations. It's a big deal to start a franchise, start a business, or go out on your own. A lot of people that come on board with us, it's their first time doing something like this, and I guess that's why it just, the support that you've got, it just makes it as easy as possible rather than going independent or sticking at a job. So
And before we finish today, what's a good story of a recent, let's say, franchise person you've brought on and to where they are now?
Oh gosh, I'm just trying to think. There are so many of them, and I guess I hear of a lot of them. One of them, I guess, has been the one. There's one, and he's definitely just been following everything step by step, and he's a real go-getter, and brought on a lot of customers. And actually, even one guy is in a little bit more of a remote place. He's only been on since, I think, the beginning of the year, and he already has, I think, 20 regular customers, which is fantastic. Because, ideally you want to have about 80 regular customers. To have that many already is actually a really, really good step. So, it's hard to say, and I don't talk to all of the franchisees as well. Once they've sort of, joined on, it's just hearing bits and pieces from their franchisors and seeing how they're going.
Absolutely. And I'll say to anyone, if you're interested in the stories, we've got heaps of them on the podcast and the Mowing podcast as well. We've got a lot of New Zealand interviews as well for the franchisees there, not just Australian ones, so please check them out. But Erin, is there anything I should have asked you today about this before we
I don't think so. I think that's most of it, Joel. Yeah.
But I think the best thing as well, if you are interested in watching this to the end, reply to Emma or get on to Emma and book the observation day. Because you and I know, based on you can read all the stuff you want up front and listen to all this thing, but the observation day is probably the most crucial thing in knowing whether you're suited to it or not, and you can get really good information directly from franchisees as well. So I think do the observation day is probably the key.
Yeah, and it will answer all the questions, really, basically there.
Cool. All right, thank you very much for your time today, Emma.
No, thanks, Joel.